Why do you keep watching me, human? She wondered, unaware of what I was. Lyra noticed him again. The human was sitting in the corner of the research station's common area, his dark eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her blue skin tingle with discomfort. She tried to focus on the data tablet in her hands, but she could feel his gaze like a physical weight pressing against her back. 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, this strange creature had been watching her. Lyra was a Valorian, a species known throughout the galaxy for their advanced intelligence and their ability to sense emotional energy from other beings. But whenever she tried to read this human, this Marcus Cole, she found nothing. Just silence. A wall of absolute emptiness where emotions should have been. It was unsettling. It was wrong. She gathered her courage and turned to face him. Marcus did not look away. He never looked away. His face remained calm, almost peaceful, as if watching her was the most natural thing in the universe. "Human," she said, her voice carrying across the quiet room. "Why do you keep staring at me?" Marcus tilted his head slightly. His eyes, brown with strange golden flecks, seemed to study every detail of her face. "I apologize if I'm making you uncomfortable, Dr. Lyra. That is not my intention." "Then what is your intention?" she demanded. "You follow me to meals. You sit outside my laboratory. You appear wherever I go. Are all humans this strange? Or is it just you?" A small smile touched his lips. "Just me, I think." Lyra's frustration grew. The other aliens on the station, the reptilian Skari, the insectoid Chitari, the tall and graceful Eldori, they all avoided the humans. There were only 12 humans on this station of over 2,000 beings, and they kept mostly to themselves. They worked in the lower sections, doing the dangerous maintenance jobs that other species refused to do. But this one, this Marcus Cole, he seemed to have made watching her his personal mission. "I will report you to Station Commander Vex if this continues," Lyra warned him. "You are free to do so," Marcus replied calmly, "but I would ask that you don't." "Why?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up slowly, and Lyra took an involuntary step backward. Humans were not particularly large compared to some species, but there was something about the way they moved, something predatory. Something ancient and dangerous that lived behind their seemingly soft exterior. "Because," Marcus said softly, "you would not like the answers that would follow." Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the corridor without another word. Lyra stood there, her 3 hearts beating rapidly in her chest. What did that mean? What answers? What was he hiding? She decided she would find out. The next day, Lyra began her own investigation. She accessed the station's personnel files and pulled up everything she could find about Marcus Cole. The information was surprisingly limited. Human, male, age 34 standard years. Born on Earth, a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system. Occupation, environmental systems technician. Security clearance, basic, nothing special. Nothing that would explain why he watched her like a predator watching prey. Or perhaps, she thought with a shiver, like a guardian watching over something precious. She shook that thought away. That was ridiculous. Lyra went to her laboratory and tried to focus on her work. She was researching a cure for the Eldori plague, a disease that had killed millions across 3 star systems. It was important work, life-saving work. She did not have time to worry about strange humans with empty minds and intense eyes, but she could not concentrate. Every time she looked up, she expected to see him standing there. Every shadow in the corner of her vision made her heart jump. Finally, she decided to confront the situation directly. She would go to the human quarters and demand answers. The lower levels of the station were darker than the upper sections where the important species lived. The walls were bare metal here, unpainted and cold. The air smelled of machine oil and recycled oxygen. This was where the humans worked and lived, hidden away from the rest of the station like a shameful secret. Lyra had never been down here before. No Valorian had. They had no reason to visit the servant quarters. She found Marcus's room and pressed the communication panel. The door slid open immediately, as if he had been expecting her. He was sitting on a simple bed, reading something on an old data tablet. The room was small and bare. Just a bed, a desk, a small bathroom, and a single photograph on the wall showing a green landscape with tall brown structures that she assumed were trees. "Dr. Lyra," he said, not seeming surprised at all. "Please come in." She stepped inside, keeping her back to the wall. "I want answers, human. Real answers. Why are you watching me?" Marcus set down his tablet and looked at her with those strange golden brown eyes. "Because I was assigned to watch you." "Assigned? By whom?" "By people who care about your survival." Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. "My survival? What do you mean? Is someone trying to hurt me?" Marcus did not answer directly. Instead, he asked, "Do you know what humans are, Dr. Lyra? Do you know what we really are?" "You are a young species," she said automatically, reciting what she had learned in school. "You come from a death world. You are physically resilient but intellectually inferior to the elder races. You serve useful roles in manual labor and dangerous work." A strange expression crossed Marcus's face. It might have been sadness, or it might have been something else entirely. "Is that what they teach you about us?" "It is the truth. Part of the truth," he agreed. "We are young. We do come from a dangerous world. We are physically resilient, but intellectually inferior." He shook his head slowly. "That is a story the elder races tell themselves so they can sleep at night." Lyra felt her skin flush with anger. "That is arrogant, even for a human." "Perhaps, but let me ask you something." Marcus leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Your people can read emotions. You can sense the feelings of every being you encounter. It is a gift that has made the Valorians great diplomats and leaders throughout the galaxy." "Yes," she said proudly. "But you cannot read me, can you?" She hesitated. "No, I cannot. Your mind is empty." "My mind is not empty, Dr. Lyra. My mind is shielded. Every human mind is shielded. It is something we evolved on our death world, a protection against the psychic predators that hunted us in our primitive past." Lyra's eyes widened. "Psychic predators? On Earth? They are extinct now. We killed them all. But the shield remains." Marcus stood up slowly. "Do you know what that means, Dr. Lyra? It means that in a galaxy full of mind readers and empaths and telepaths, humans are invisible. We are ghosts. We can walk among any species, and they will never know what we are thinking or feeling." The implications hit her like a physical blow. A species that could not be read. A species that could hide its true intentions from everyone. In a galaxy where mental abilities were the foundation of trust and commerce and diplomacy, humans were blind spots, unknowable variables. "Why are you telling me this?" she whispered. "Because someone is trying to kill you, Dr. Lyra, and they are using telepathic assassins to do it, the Voidborn. You have heard of them?" She had. The Voidborn were legendary killers, a religious cult that believed in cleansing the galaxy of what they called impure knowledge. They had assassinated scientists, philosophers, and leaders across 100 worlds. Their telepathic abilities allowed them to predict their targets' movements and avoid detection. "They are coming for me?" Lyra's voice trembled. "They are already here," Marcus said grimly. 3 of them arrived on the station 2 weeks ago, disguised as Chitauri traders. They have been watching you, reading your mind, learning your patterns. They plan to kill you in 3 days when you present your research to the Science Council." How do you know this? Because I have been watching them. Marcus stepped closer, and for the first time, Lyra did not feel afraid. She felt something else, something like safety. They cannot sense me, Dr. Lyra. They cannot predict my movements or read my intentions. To them, I am just a simple human worker, beneath their notice. And what are you really? Marcus smiled, but there was no warmth in it, only cold determination. I am what my people have always been, Dr. Lyra. A guardian in the darkness, a hunter of hunters. I am a human, and I am here to keep you alive. Lyra stared at him, her entire understanding of the universe shifting beneath her feet. The humans were not servants. They were not inferior. They were something far more dangerous and far more valuable than anyone had ever imagined. They were protectors. Why? She asked finally. Why would humans protect me? What do you gain from this? Marcus's expression softened slightly. Your research will save millions of lives, Dr. Lyra. Eldori children who will grow up healthy. Eldori parents who will not have to bury their young. That matters to us. Human or alien, Valorian or Eldori, life matters to us. But the galaxy treats your people like servants, like lesser beings. Yes, he agreed. They do, and maybe someday that will change. But that is not why we do this. He reached out and gently touched her shoulder, the first physical contact between them. His hand was warm and steady. We do this because it is right. Because protecting the innocent is what humans have always done, even when no one was watching, even when no one knew. Lyra felt tears forming in her eyes, something that had not happened since she was a child. What do we do now? Now, Marcus said, his eyes growing hard again. We wait. The Voidborn will make their move soon. When they do, I will be ready. And what about me? You will stay close to me. You will not go anywhere alone. And when the time comes, you will trust me. He paused. Can you do that, Dr. Lyra? Can you trust a human? She looked into his eyes, those strange, unreadable, utterly human eyes, and made her decision. Yes, she said, I can. Outside the small room in the cold corridors of the station, 3 Voidborn assassins were making their final preparations. They had no idea that death was waiting for them in the form of a simple human worker, with the next 2 days passed in a strange blur for Lyra. She went about her work as usual, finishing the final calculations for her plague cure and preparing her presentation for the Science Council. But everything felt different now. Every corridor seemed darker. Every stranger seemed suspicious. Every shadow held a potential killer. Marcus was always there. Sometimes she saw him clearly, standing in a corner, sitting at a nearby table, walking a few steps behind her. Other times, she only caught glimpses of him, a reflection in a window, a familiar shape disappearing around a corner. He was like a ghost, always present but never intrusive. She found it strangely comforting. On the evening of the second day, Lyra was working late in her laboratory when her door chimed. She looked up, expecting to see Marcus, but instead found her colleague Dr. Venn standing in the doorway. Venn was a Chitauri, an insectoid being with multiple eyes and clicking mandibles. Dr. Lyra, Venn said, his voice a series of high-pitched clicks translated by his collar device. May I come in? Of course, Dr. Venn. Lyra gestured to a chair. What brings you here so late? Venn settled into the chair, his compound eyes reflecting the laboratory lights in strange patterns. I wanted to discuss your presentation tomorrow. I have some concerns about the methodology section. Lyra frowned. She and Venn had worked together for 3 years. He had never expressed concerns about her methodology before. What concerns? Perhaps it would be easier if I showed you. Venn reached into his carrying pouch and pulled out a data tablet. I have prepared some notes. If you would look at this. He held out the tablet, and something cold settled in Lyra's stomach. She did not know why. There was nothing threatening about the gesture, but some instinct, some ancient warning system buried deep in her brain, screamed at her to run. She reached out slowly to take the tablet. The laboratory door exploded inward. Marcus came through the smoke like a force of nature, his body moving with a speed and precision that seemed impossible for any living thing. He crashed into Ven, knocking the tablet from the Chitari's grip, and they both went tumbling across the floor. Lyra screamed and stumbled backward, knocking over equipment and sending data crystals scattering across the floor. Ven, or the thing that looked like Ven, rose to its feet with unnatural grace. Its form shimmered and changed, the Chitari appearance melting away to reveal something else entirely. The creature beneath was tall and thin, with pale gray skin and eyes that burned with cold blue fire. A Voidborn. "Human," the assassin hissed, its voice like wind through dead leaves. "How did you know?" Marcus did not answer. He was already moving, his hand reaching for something at his belt. The Voidborn raised its hand, and a wave of psychic energy slammed into the room. Lyra felt it wash over her mind like ice water, trying to freeze her thoughts, trying to stop her heart. But it passed around Marcus like water around a stone. He did not even flinch. The Voidborn's eyes widened in surprise. "Impossible! You should be—" Marcus was on him before he could finish the sentence. Something flashed in the human's hand. A blade, short and curved, made of some dark metal that seemed to drink in the light. The Voidborn tried to dodge, its telepathic senses screaming warnings at it. But Marcus was not where its senses said he should be. He was exactly where he wanted to be. The blade found its mark. The Voidborn made a sound like tearing silk and collapsed to the floor, blue fire fading from its eyes. Marcus stood over the body, breathing hard, the dark blade dripping something that might have been blood. He looked at Lyra, and for just a moment she saw something wild and ancient in his eyes. Something that had been hunting in darkness since before her species had learned to walk upright. Then it was gone, and he was just Marcus again, calm, controlled, and utterly human. "Are you hurt?" he asked. Lyra shook her head, unable to speak. "Good. We need to move. That was only one of them. The other two will know their brother has fallen. They will come for us now." He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the door. His grip was firm but gentle, and she found herself following without question. Trust, she reminded herself. She had promised to trust him. They ran through the corridors of the research station, past confused scientists and startled workers. Marcus seemed to know exactly where he was going, taking turns and shortcuts that Lyra had never noticed before. The station that she had called home for 5 years suddenly felt like a maze, and he was the only one who knew the way out. "Where are we going?" she gasped. "Safe room. The other humans set it up weeks ago, when we first learned you were targeted. It is shielded against telepathic scanning. The Voidborn will not be able to find us there." "Other humans? There are more of you involved in this?" Marcus glanced back at her, and something like pride flickered in his eyes. "We look out for each other, Dr. Lyra, and we look out for people who matter. Your work matters, so you matter." They rounded another corner and nearly collided with a tall Eldori female. The Eldori, silver-skinned and graceful, looked at them with wide, golden eyes. "Dr. Lyra? What is happening? I heard explosions." "Keep moving," Marcus said sharply. "Get to your quarters and seal the door. Do not open it for anyone." The Eldori looked at him with undisguised confusion. A human giving orders to an elder species? It was unheard of, unthinkable. But something in Marcus's voice made her obey. She hurried away without another word, her long legs carrying her quickly down the corridor. "Here," Marcus said, stopping at a nondescript door in a maintenance section. He pressed his palm to a hidden panel, and the door slid open to reveal a small room filled with equipment Lyra did not recognize. Two other humans were inside, a woman with short dark hair and a younger man with nervous eyes. "Cole," the woman said, nodding at Marcus. "We saw the alert. One down?" "One down. 2 to go. Status?" "Station security is confused. They think it was an accident in the laboratory. The Voidborn have not revealed themselves yet." "They will," Marcus said grimly. "Dr. Lyra's presentation is tomorrow. If they cannot kill her quietly, they will try something bigger, something public." Lyra finally found her voice. "Wait. Who are you people? How many humans are involved in this?" The woman turned to look at her. Her eyes were dark and steady, much like Marcus's. "All of us, Dr. Lyra, every human on this station." "But there are only 12 of you." 12 is enough." Marcus guided Lyra to a chair and knelt beside her. "I know this is overwhelming. I know you have questions. But right now, I need you to focus. The Voidborn are not just going to disappear. They believe in their mission. They believe your research is dangerous, that saving lives somehow disrupts the natural order of the universe." "That is insane." "Yes, it is. But they will die for that belief, and they will kill for it. We need to be ready." The younger human, barely more than a boy, really, spoke up. "We have been tracking their communication signals. They are planning something for tomorrow's presentation. Something big." "A bomb?" Marcus asked. "Possible. Or they might try a mass telepathic attack. Take out the entire Science Council at once." Lyra felt sick. The Science Council was made up of the most brilliant minds in the galaxy. Representatives from 100 species gathered to hear her presentation. If the Voidborn attacked them... "We have to warn someone," she said desperately. "Station security? The Council itself?" "Someone." "We have tried," the woman said flatly. "No one listens to humans, and even if they did, the Voidborn have infiltrated the station's communications. Any warning we send, they will intercept." "Then what do we do?" Marcus stood up and turned to face the others. "We do what humans have always done. We adapt, we overcome, and we protect the people who cannot protect themselves." He began outlining a plan. Lyra listened in amazement as the three humans discussed tactics and positioning and contingencies with the ease of experienced soldiers. These were not simple workers. These were warriors, hidden in plain sight among the servants and laborers that the galaxy ignored. How many others were there, she wondered? How many humans across the galaxy were quietly protecting people like her, never asking for recognition, never expecting thanks? "Dr. Lyra." She looked up to find Marcus watching her. "Yes?" "I need you to do something difficult tomorrow. I need you to give your presentation as if nothing has happened. Can you do that? You want me to stand in front of the Science Council knowing that assassins are trying to kill me?" "Yes. Because if you do not, they win. They want you afraid. They want you silent. They want your research to die with you." Marcus's eyes were fierce. "I am asking you to be brave, Dr. Lyra. I am asking you to trust that we will keep you safe." She looked at him, this strange, unknowable human who had made her survival his personal mission. She thought about all the lives her research could save, all the children who would grow up healthy, all the parents who would not have to grieve. "I will do it," she said quietly. "I will give my presentation." Marcus nodded, something like respect flickering in his eyes. "Then get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be a long day." But Lyra could not rest. Her mind was too full of questions and fears and strange new realizations. She sat in the safe room watching the humans prepare for battle and wondered how the galaxy could have been so blind for so long. These were not inferior beings. These were not simple servants. These were something far more remarkable. And tomorrow, she would stand with them against the darkness. The night passed slowly in the hidden room. Marcus sat near the door, never sleeping, his eyes always watching. The other humans took shifts, but he remained alert through all of them. At one point, Lyra asked him, "Do you not need to sleep? I will sleep when you are safe. That could be days, weeks. Then I will sleep in days, or weeks." He shrugged as if it was nothing, as if sacrificing his own well-being for a stranger was simply what one did. Lyra shook her head in wonder. "I do not understand you, Marcus Cole. I do not understand any of you." "You do not need to understand us, Dr. Lyra. You just need to trust us." She looked into his eyes, those strange, unreadable, utterly human eyes, and found that she did. Against all logic, against all her training, against everything she thought she knew about the universe, she trusted this human with her life. It was the most frightening and liberating feeling she had ever experienced. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "when this is over, I think the galaxy needs to know the truth about your people." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. "One step at a time, Dr. Lyra. First we survive tomorrow. Then we can worry about changing the galaxy." In the darkness of the station, two Voidborn assassins were gathering their power, preparing for a final devastating attack. They believed they were unstoppable. They believed their telepathic abilities made them superior to all other beings. They had no idea what was waiting for them. They had never faced humans before. They were about to learn why that was a mistake. Golden brown eyes and a heart full of quiet purpose. And in the darkness of space, the ancient dance of predator and prey was about to take a very unexpected turn. The Grand Assembly Hall was magnificent. Crystalline walls rose toward a domed ceiling that displayed the stars themselves, projected from sensors on the station's outer hull. Representatives from over 100 species sat in tiered seating, their bodies ranging from the towering Eldori to the tiny, floating Luminari, who drifted like living lights above their designated section. Lyra stood at the central podium, her data ready, her presentation prepared. She wore her finest research robes, and she tried very hard not to think about the assassins who were somewhere in this room, waiting to kill her. She could not see Marcus or the other humans. That was part of the plan, she reminded herself. They needed to remain hidden until the moment of attack. The Voidborn could not sense them, could not predict their movements, but they could still see them with their regular eyes. The chairman of the Science Council, an ancient Valorian with silver hair and clouded eyes, raised his hand for silence. "We gather today to hear a presentation of great importance," he announced, his voice amplified throughout the hall. "Dr. Lyra of the Valorian Institute has developed what may be a cure for the Eldori plague. If successful, her work will save millions of lives across 3 star systems." Polite applause rippled through the assembly. Lyra caught sight of the Eldori delegation, their silver faces showing careful hope, their golden eyes bright with unshed tears. They had lost so many to the plague. Children, parents, elders. Entire family lines wiped out by the invisible killer. This was why she did her work. This was why she could not let fear stop her. "Thank you, Chairman," Lyra said, her voice only trembling slightly. "I am honored to present my findings today. But before I begin, I wish to acknowledge something that is often forgotten in these halls." The assembly shifted, curious. This was not part of any standard presentation. "I wish to acknowledge the humans." A murmur of confusion spread through the crowd. Humans. What did the servant species have to do with scientific research? "For too long," Lyra continued, "we have dismissed humans as inferior. We have relegated them to maintenance and labor. We have ignored their intelligence, their courage, and their extraordinary capacity for protection. In the back of the hall, Station Commander Vex, a massive Scari with armored scales and suspicious eyes, stood up. "Dr. Lyra, this is highly irregular. What is the meaning of this?" "The meaning, Commander, is that there are assassins in this room, void-born assassins, sent to kill me and destroy my research." The hall erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted. Security personnel rushed forward. The chairman pounded his staff against the podium, calling for order. And in the confusion, Lyra saw them. Two figures in the upper gallery, their disguises falling away as they rose from their seats. Pale gray skin, eyes burning with cold blue fire, the remaining Voidborn, abandoning stealth for a direct attack. They raised their hands, and Lyra felt the psychic energy building, a wave of pure destruction that would wash over the assembly and stop every heart, silence every mind, kill every being in the room. She closed her eyes, bracing for death. It never came. Instead, she heard screams, but not from the assembly. From the Voidborn themselves. Lyra opened her eyes and saw something she would never forget. Marcus was there, in the upper gallery, his dark blade flashing in the starlight. The woman from the safe room was with him, and the young man, and 9 others, all 12 humans from the station, moving with a coordination that seemed almost supernatural. The Voidborn tried to fight back. They lashed out with their psychic abilities, waves of energy that should have stopped the humans in their tracks. But the attacks passed through them like wind through empty air, finding nothing to grip, nothing to damage. The humans were immune, completely, absolutely immune, and they were angry. Marcus reached the first Voidborn just as it tried to flee. His blade cut through the air with terrible precision, and the assassin crumpled. The second one screamed in rage and terror, throwing everything it had at the approaching humans. But they kept coming. The woman caught the Voidborn's arm and twisted. The young man struck from the other side. And Marcus, moving like something out of ancient legend, delivered the final blow. It was over in seconds. The most feared assassins in the galaxy, defeated by 12 humans who worked in maintenance and lived in tiny rooms in the lower levels of the station. Silence fell over the assembly. The chairman stared at the scene with wide, disbelieving eyes. Commander Vex's jaw hung open. The Eldori delegation wept openly, though whether from fear or relief or something else entirely, Lyra could not tell. Marcus walked down from the gallery, his blade now hidden, his face calm. He stopped at the base of the podium and looked up at Lyra. "You can continue your presentation now, Dr. Lyra," he said quietly. "You are safe." Lyra looked at him. She looked at the other humans, standing in the shadows of the great hall like guardians from some ancient story. She looked at the assembled representatives of 100 species, all of them staring at the humans with new eyes. "No," she said, her voice strong and clear. "First, I think the galaxy needs to hear some truths." She stepped away from her research data and addressed the assembly directly. "For generations, we have treated humans as lesser beings. We have ignored them, dismissed them, relegated them to the jobs we considered beneath us. And all that time, they have been watching us, protecting us, saving us from threats we never even knew existed." She pointed at Marcus. "This man has spent the last 3 weeks sleeping in hallways and eating in shadow just to keep me alive long enough to complete my research. He asked for nothing in return. He expected no recognition. He did it because he believed my work mattered. He did it because humans believe that all life matters." The assembly was silent now, every eye fixed on Lyra and the humans below her. "We call ourselves the Elder Races," she continued. "We believe our telepathic abilities and ancient civilizations make us superior. But what is superiority? Is it the power to read minds? Or is it the courage to protect others without asking anything in return? She looked at the Eldori delegation. When your children are cured of the plague, it will be because a human named Marcus Cole refused to let me die. Remember that. When your families are whole again, remember the humans who made it possible. She looked at Commander Vex. When this station's systems keep functioning through another cycle, remember who maintains them. Remember who crawls through dangerous tunnels and fixes broken equipment, while the rest of us sleep safely in our quarters. Finally, she looked at the chairman. And when you write the history of this day, write the truth. Write that humans are not servants. They are not inferiors. They are guardians. They are protectors. They are the greatest friends the galaxy has ever known. And we have been too blind and too arrogant to see it. The chairman was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, he stood up from his chair. His old eyes found Marcus in the crowd below. "Human," he said, his voice carrying through the silent hall. "What is your name?" "Marcus Cole, sir." "Marcus Cole." The chairman nodded slowly. "On behalf of the Science Council, on behalf of the Valorian people, and on behalf of every species represented here today, I thank you. We thank all of you." He began to clap. The sound was strange in the vast hall, a single pair of hands applauding. But then the Eldori joined in, their silver hands creating a shimmering wave of sound. The Chitauri clicked their mandibles in appreciation. The Luminari pulsed with bright light. Species after species added their voices to the acknowledgement until the entire assembly was thundering with applause for 12 maintenance workers who had saved them all. Marcus stood perfectly still, his face unreadable. But Lyra, watching from the podium, thought she saw something glistening in his eyes. After the assembly, after the speeches and the questions and the formal recognition, Lyra found Marcus alone in one of the observation lounges. He was staring out at the stars, his reflection a ghost in the transparent wall. "You did not have to do that," he said without turning around. "The speech, the acknowledgement. We do not do this for recognition." "I know." Lyra walked to stand beside him. "That is why you deserved it." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars turn slowly beyond the glass. "What happens now?" Lyra asked eventually. "Now? Your research gets implemented. The plague gets cured. Millions of Eldori children grow up healthy and happy." Marcus shrugged. "And we go back to work. Back to maintenance? Back to being ignored? Probably. Old habits are hard to break." He finally turned to look at her. "But maybe not. Your speech will spread. People will talk. And maybe slowly, things will start to change." Lyra shook her head in wonder. "You saved my life. You saved the entire Science Council. And you are content to go back to cleaning air filters?" "Content?" Marcus smiled. "I do not know about content, but it is important work. Someone has to do it, and if doing it quietly means we are in position to help the next time danger comes, then that is where we will be. Guardians in the shadows. Something like that." Lyra reached out and took his hand. It was warm and strong, the hand of a protector. "Thank you, Marcus Cole, for everything." "You are welcome, Dr. Y. Lyra." He squeezed her hand gently. "Now go save some lives. That is what you do." She smiled and turned to leave. At the door, she paused and looked back. "Marcus?" "Yes?" "Why do you do it? Really? After everything the galaxy has done to your people, after all the dismissal and disrespect, why do you still protect us?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft, but filled with something ancient and unshakable. "Because long ago, on a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system, my ancestors made a choice. They could have become predators. They could have used their abilities to dominate and destroy. But instead, they chose to protect. They chose to build. They chose to look out for the weak and the innocent, even when it cost them everything. He turned back to the stars. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the oldest or the wisest, but we are humans, and humans protect. It is who we are. It is what we do. It is what we will always do until the last star goes dark and the universe grows cold. Lyra felt tears running down her face. She wiped them away, but more came. "The galaxy does not deserve you," she whispered. "Maybe not," Marcus agreed, "but that has never stopped us before." She left him there, standing alone among the stars, a guardian watching over a galaxy that was only beginning to understand what it had been given. And across the station, 11 other humans returned to their posts, their work, their quiet vigil. No one noticed them. No one thanked them. But they continued anyway, as they always had, as they always would, because they were human. And humans never stop watching, never stop protecting, never stop caring about the innocent and the vulnerable and the beings who cannot protect themselves. That is the truth the galaxy was only beginning to learn. And it was a truth that would change everything. In the months and years that followed, Dr. Lyra's cure saved 12 million Eldori lives. But her speech saved something even more important. It saved the truth about humanity, and that truth spread like wildfire across the stars until every species in the galaxy knew what the humans really were. Not servants, not inferiors, guardians, and the universe was infinitely better for having them in it.